Most men believe respect comes from strength, confidence, or dominance. They think the reason some men are never challenged is because they are louder, bigger, or more aggressive. But the truth is far more psychological. The men nobody tests are rarely the loudest in the room. In fact, they are often the quietest. And the reason people hesitate before crossing them has nothing to do with intimidation. It has to do with stability. There is a moment in every interaction where people unconsciously ask a question. How far can I go with this person? They don't ask it with words. They ask it with behavior. A small joke at your expense, an interruption when you speak, a dismissive tone, a subtle challenge to your opinion. These are not random social moments. They are probes, tiny psychological tests designed to measure your internal frame. Most men fail these tests immediately because they react instead of holding position. When someone interrupts them, they stop talking. When someone makes a sarcastic comment, they laugh it off to avoid tension. When someone questions their opinion, they rush to explain themselves in detail. Each of these reactions sends a signal. My position is flexible, and flexible positions invite pressure. But the man nobody tests behaves differently. He doesn't rush to react. He doesn't immediately defend himself. And he certainly doesn't scramble to restore comfort in the room. When someone interrupts him, he calmly continues speaking. When someone makes a disrespectful joke, he doesn't laugh nervously. He lets the silence expose it. When someone challenges him emotionally, he responds slowly instead of escalating the tension. That slowness is powerful. Because people expect reactions. Reactions are predictable, but stability under pressure is rare, and rare behavior forces others to recalibrate their approach. The moment people sense that you will not move emotionally under small pressure, they stop applying larger pressure. The psychology of a man nobody tests is not about aggression. It's about the absence of emotional leakage. His tone doesn't spike when tension appears. His posture doesn't shrink when someone becomes confident. His opinions don't dissolve the moment disagreement enters the room. And people notice that immediately. Because the fastest way to lose respect is to show that your internal position depends on the reactions of others. But the moment people realize your frame remains stable regardless of their behavior, something shifts in the room. The tests disappear. Not because you demanded respect, but because your behavior made testing you inefficient. What most people don't realize is that social tests are rarely intentional. People are not always consciously trying to challenge you. Instead, they are responding to subtle signals you send through your behavior. If you constantly adjust your tone to maintain harmony, people sense it. If you rush to justify yourself when questioned, they notice. If you become slightly nervous when tension appears, it becomes visible even if you try to hide it. Human beings are extremely sensitive to these signals. The psychology behind this is simple. People naturally push where they feel flexibility. If someone senses that your boundaries move under pressure, they will continue exploring that pressure. Not necessarily because they want to dominate you, but because humans instinctively search for hierarchy. Every conversation has an invisible negotiation happening beneath the surface. Who leads the direction of the discussion? Who adjusts their tone first? Who explains more? Who becomes defensive? Most men unknowingly place themselves lower in this hierarchy by trying too hard to be understood. The moment someone questions them, they start talking more. They add explanations, details, justifications. They try to make sure the other person sees their perspective clearly. But in doing so, they unintentionally lower their position. Because the more someone feels the need to explain themselves, the more it appears that their position requires approval. The man nobody tests does the opposite. When someone questions his opinion, he does not rush to defend it with 10 arguments. He states it once, calmly, and lets the room process it. That pause creates psychological weight. Silence forces others to evaluate the statement instead of immediately pushing against it. And when people feel that pressure of silence, they often adjust their own behavior first. Another important difference is emotional pacing. When someone raises the intensity of a conversation, most people match that intensity immediately. If the other person becomes louder, they become louder too. If the other person becomes sarcastic, they respond with sarcasm. But the man nobody tests slows down instead of speeding up. His tone remains steady. His posture stays relaxed. His facial expression barely changes. This creates something extremely powerful: emotional contrast. The more emotional the other person becomes, the more stable he appears. And stability in tense moments naturally creates authority. People begin to feel that pushing further will not produce the reaction they expected. And when a reaction becomes unlikely, the motivation to test disappears. Another trait that separates men who are constantly tested from those who are not is how they handle uncertainty in conversations. Most people become uncomfortable the moment a situation becomes socially unclear. A pause appears in the room. Someone challenges a statement. The atmosphere becomes slightly tense, and immediately people rush to fix the tension. They explain more, soften their tone, or even joke to lighten the moment. But this behavior signals something important: discomfort with pressure. The man nobody tests understands that tension is not a problem to solve, it is a signal. When someone challenges you, they are not just questioning your idea, they are observing your reaction. They are measuring how stable you remain when the social temperature rises. If you rush to dissolve the tension, you communicate that pressure controls your behavior. And once people see that pressure works on you, they use it again. But when someone remains comfortable inside tension, something different happens. The room begins to reorganize around that stability. People naturally slow down their behavior. They reconsider how far they push, because the expected reaction never arrives. Think about the difference between someone who immediately defends themselves and someone who simply holds their ground. The first person looks reactive, the second looks anchored, and humans instinctively respect anchors. In social environments, stability is interpreted as strength. Another important element is predictability. Men who are frequently tested often behave inconsistently. One day they tolerate something, the next day they react strongly. One moment they laugh off disrespect, the next moment they become defensive. This inconsistency confuses people. When people cannot clearly read your boundaries, they keep probing to understand where the line actually is. The man nobody tests is extremely consistent. His reactions do not depend on his mood or the environment. If someone interrupts him, he calmly continues speaking every time. If someone crosses a boundary, he addresses it clearly every time. If someone attempts to dominate the conversation, he does not compete emotionally. He simply slows the interaction down. This consistency removes uncertainty, and when uncertainty disappears, so do the tests. Because testing only continues when people believe your position might change. But when they see that your frame remains stable across different situations, they stop trying to move it. At the deepest level, the psychology of a man nobody tests is built on one thing: internal independence. Most people unknowingly allow the reactions of others to determine their behavior. If someone approves of them, they feel confident. If someone challenges them, their certainty weakens. If someone raises their voice, their emotions rise too. Their internal state constantly mirrors the environment around them. But the man nobody tests operates differently. His internal position is not built on the approval of others. It is built on self-control. When someone disagrees with him, his confidence does not collapse. When someone becomes emotional, his tone does not escalate. When someone tries to dominate the interaction, he does not rush to prove himself. Instead, he maintains the same level of composure, regardless of what happens around him. This creates a powerful psychological effect. People quickly realize that their behavior does not change his frame. And when someone cannot influence your frame, they stop trying to push it. Testing only continues when reactions are predictable. If someone knows that raising pressure will make you defensive, they will raise pressure again. If they know sarcasm will make you uncomfortable, they will repeat it. But when their behavior produces no emotional leverage, the incentive to test disappears. There is also another important element: attention. Many men react to challenges because they feel the need to defend their reputation immediately. They fear that if they do not respond strongly, others will think they are weak. But in reality, overreacting often creates the opposite effect. It shows that your status depends on the opinions of others in the room. The man nobody tests understands that real authority does not need constant defense. His presence already communicates that his standards will not move easily. He does not chase validation. He does not rush to correct every comment. And he certainly does not allow minor social pressure to dictate his behavior. Over time, people begin to recognize this pattern. They see that emotional tactics do not work. They notice that small provocations do not create reactions. And eventually, the dynamic changes completely. People stop testing. Not because they were told to, not because they were intimidated, but because they realized something simple. Some men react to pressure, and some men remain unchanged by it. The moment people realize you belong to the second category, the tests quietly disappear.